If I could run the clock back a couple decades, I know you're a college athlete, played some pro football, but what actually got you into wrestling and up to Calgary originally, Jim?
I was playing for the Dallas Cowboys and got released, and I was hanging around San Diego. And some guy comes up to me at the beach and goes, geez, you know, you have $1 million in your body in professional wrestling. And I said, what? I said, I don't know about that. You know, I was a shot putter at UCLA. And so eventually they referred me to this man called Gene LaBelle, a big promoter in Los Angeles at the Olympic Auditorium. And they sent me to Stu Hart. And that's where it all started. So I started wrestling for 3 years on the Western Canadian circuit. And that was fun. Almost froze my ass off. But that's where I got a lot of my experience. And Stu Hart broke me in himself at the Dungeon.
Legendary Dungeon?
Legendary Dungeon. Yeah, this went on for quite some time. So that was inspiring.
At that time, you wrestled as a babyface. You're a fan favorite, a gentleman in the ring who would lose his temper occasionally. But now you've had a chance to play both sides as a hero and villain. Which do you prefer?
Well, the people always talk about like hero, villain, babyface, heel. I haven't the faintest idea of what you're even talking about. I've always felt myself to be a good person. But you have to do what you have to do.
Now, how did the look happen?
What look?
This look we see, the dark shades, the goatee, the maniacal laugh, the pink and black.
That look.
The trademark.
Oh, the trademark.
Yeah.
I had a friend called Crusher Khrushchev. He was a Russian wrestler. Then when we were tag teaming down in Tampa, Florida. And he had a bald head, a real long goatee, and I had a big full beard. And he goes, Jim, and I go, we gonna look like each other or not? I said, well, I'm not a Russian. Anyway, it turns out I shaved my beard like his and to a point, wore my sunglasses because the lights are too bright in the camera, and we tried to look like each other, and it just stuck ever since.
Great. Hey, Rich. Now, obviously, everyone knows you tagged up with Bret Hart, legendary run as tag champions. Where do you think the Hart Foundation rank in terms of all-time teams? Is that how they'd be remembered, maybe?
Ranking? I think we were the best tag team of all time, and I wouldn't be surprised if we might be able to do that one more time. The only people that could really hang with us were British Bulldogs.
Another Calgary background there with Davey Boy and Tom.
Mm-hmm. And we've had some of the best matches on film, Hart Foundation versus the Bulldogs. And we also had some good matches with like older tag teams like Killer Bees, Rougeos, the Strike Force. That goes back a little bit with Tito Santana, Rick Martel. So Brett was always a technical guy, and I was always I could talk on the mic, and he was always he had the ideas in the ring, so we kind of put it together. And I was a bigger, uglier guy, and he's the guy that all the girls like, so it kind of fit.
Did it click right away, Jim? Was there some chemistry there, or is it something that really took a lot of time to develop?
Yeah, because see, we've been wrestling in Calgary for 2 or 3 years before we hit New York, so you're familiar.
Right.
It wasn't like this cold on cold,
I remember a lot of bizarre matches. Now, I remember a football helmet match early in your career.
Yes, I do too.
Tell the people at home about it.
Well, my father-in-law, Stu Hart, didn't put any padding in his helmet. He thought it was kind of funny. But it almost killed me wearing a football helmet with no padding in it. But we did some things, matches off my weightlifting strength from shot putting and my football background, and kind of try to incorporate them into a wrestling match to make it entertaining. And I usually cut the brunt of most of this stuff.
Yeah. Everybody's familiar with Bret's falling out and his departure from the WWF. The night after the Montreal incident, Jim, you're kind of put in a situation that as a fan I was uncomfortable with, where they brought you out and Shawn Michaels, there was a situation there I found kind of distasteful. As someone who was close to Bret and someone that was kind of left in the aftermath of that situation, how were you with what happened that night?
Well, it was a personal confrontation between Shawn and Bret, and after the match got over, I walked down to the ring, and there was pandemonium going on in the Molson Center and in Montreal. people didn't really know what was going on, and they started to riot a little bit. And Brett was breaking monitors and all kinds of expensive camera equipment, and it got a little messy. But those kind of things happen in the boxing and wrestling world, you know, where a wrestler doesn't agree with a promoter and it gets a little complicated.
When were you approached with how were they going to do the aftermath the following night and involve you in the storyline?
In the
storyline, I believe there was an incident with Sean. They kind of called you down to the ring.
Well, that's where everyone left. That's where Owen and Davey Boy and Brett left.
And you were left behind.
I'm left behind because
right.
I didn't have a full contract like they did in the World Wrestling Federation. So I said I got to stay here. So then I actually should have stayed there because things were turning out well for me. But then WCW offered me some big money, so I said, yeah.
And how would you summarize your time there?
But WCW, when of course it's down now, so I can badmouth them now. But they didn't working for the WCW. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. They had a lot of talent there, a lot of money. But they're a broadcasting company where the WWF is a wrestling company. It makes a big difference because we're used to wrestling for wrestling people, you know.
Right. Now that we're down to the WWF sort of as the sole proprietor of the big promotions, how does that affect the independence scene that you're currently involved in?
I don't know. That's going to be a good one because there's a lot of really talented wrestlers out there, and it's a big world too. That have no place to wrestle. I think a while back they used to have territories like Louisiana territory and this Montreal territory was hot, the New York territory, just one territory to wrestle. Sure. And now it's a big world thing. I think they might be going back to like the territories, you know.
Now, in the situation you're in now, you're wrestling with a lot of guys that maybe have a little less experience with you. How does that affect you in ring and in the performance you're able to put on for the fans? Does that put a little more pressure on you?
Well, I pretty much basically know what I'm doing, you know. Gotta grab onto someone's leg or their arm or their head or, you know,
twist them.
Something, and gotta be in good cardio shape. So I'm in better cardio condition now than I used to be, so I try to wear people down a little bit. I should wear them down.
How are you holding up after 20 some years in the ring, your body?
I've been wrestling most of my adult life, and I'm just really lucky that I'm real healthy, you know. My hips, knees, brain, neck, especially the neck. So, you know, wrestling's something you can do to your... I asked my father, I said, geez, you know, how long can you wrestle? He goes, You can wrestle till...
Now, Jim.
He goes, when I was your age, I was just getting started.
How's Stu doing? I know he's been under the weather a bit lately.
He's doing very good. He was just given the Order of Canada. I think that's like being knighted or something like that. A very high order, very prestigious, and he's doing great.
Do you miss the days? I mean, when you were with a promotion like Stampede or WWF, you're wrestling with the same guys. You got a chance to forge some relationship and some friendships. Now you're kind of flying in, flying out. Do you miss sort of how it used to be or no?
This isn't the first time I've done this. You know, I wrestle internationally for Japan, and I go to Europe a lot, and you get on the circuit. Sure, you know, and things get easier. I mean, not easier, but you're on a weekly program. And so once you get off there, you're basically still wrestling. You're doing the same thing. It's just not quite as intense as the schedule. But
now, we're surrounded by some young kids here for this interview. I know a young kid that turned out into quite a wrestler, Chris Benoit, started that way, hanging around the locker rooms. What you recall from your first meetings with him?
Oh, Chris, he started off in Calgary, just like Brian Pillman. I don't know if you guys remember him.
Oh, do I?
And so he broke in kind of the same way. Then I tag teamed with Chris Benoit over in Japan for a couple of years. We were tag teaming partners, and Benoit always, we all trying to copy Dynamite Kid. It's an old English wrestler, and try to copy a lot of those moves and things. And he's just doing fantastic right now.
Finally getting the push you think he deserves?
Oh yeah, he's a good wrestler. Just like Jericho and.
What about all these wrestlers running